distracted.
Distracted by Ashley. She's doing a lot lately.
Yeah.
The video recording and whatnot.
You thought I was going to try and take over the channel. It's actually just Ashley taking over.
Which is
the
why your
entire
chair
house.
is actually further forward to mine.
Yes.
Yes. Nice new comfy game chairs. And so today we're going to have, I guess you'd call it a gaming discussion. Well, I don't know. You have a topic in mind. You haven't even told me what it is, so I couldn't prepare.
I didn't want the conversation to go ahead without this being recorded, although I think we do actually need to show off these chairs a little bit first, because they are in fact very comfy chairs.
Yes, they rock and roll.
Yeah.
And swivel. Yeah, but if you do, I thought you were going to stop behind with the back of the chair like some sort of evil doctor from James Bond or something.
We were thinking that, just starting the movie with the chairs facing backward and then swivel around.
You think we've gone really upscale? The
have
movie,
really upscale.
Irish Nerd Life, to film.
It's coming.
This time it's professional. No. Is that your phone?
My phone's off, so no.
Was that you? Or was it the chair? They need WD-40. Anyway. Recline.
As you can see.
Yes. Now.
Yes.
Well, maybe you can see. I don't know where the camera's pointing.
Let's hope so.
Oh,
anyway.
Okay.
This, I saw, Alan Wake. It's a little bit of a bugbear of mine.
Ashley.
Go on.
She was actually having a peek at my packages and pickups. You have to wait for the video. That's better.
She thinks this is a treat now. It really isn't.
Yeah.
Alan Wake. We discussed this a little bit before. I really dislike the fact that you have to download the end of it. You download the last level. It's a DLC. Irritates the hell out of me. But it brings us back to a conversation we were having last night about freemium games. And that's something I wanted to talk to you about.
Well, funny enough, I actually wanted to have a discussion on that too.
Excellent.
Which is why I was saying price in video games as a potential discussion. So I guess it flows in nicely. Part of it was the changing model at which we buy our games. I mean, back in the day, when I say back in the day, I mean a few years ago, literally, you'd go into your store, you had no real online stores, and you'd browse the shop, you'd pick up a game, you'd pay your $50 or whatever it was, you bring it home and play it, and that's it. Everything was on the disc or the cartridge or whatever. Yeah. Certainly the cartridge. You weren't downloading the content, you weren't expanding it, you weren't even getting bug fixes. Yeah. So it had to be right the first time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But that is certainly not the way.
I think they've gotten quite lazy. I played Dragon Age 1 and 2, or Dragon Age Origins and Awakening, and then Dragon Age 2. Very, very buggy. Now, they downloaded bug fixes, but it seemed
downloaded bug fixes?
Well, I don't know. They released bug fixes.
Someone else made them and went, well, this would be handy.
My English good. But it seemed sloppy. You know, a little bit of beta testing would have found most of those things. There's one of them actually on Awakenings, which would have been the main DLC for Dragon Age Origins. One point you go into a mine and your entire group is captured. You wake up and other people have your gear. You have to go and kill them, get your gear back. I went through the entire thing and I couldn't find my gear. I found the gear for all of my companions, but not mine. And so that's really, really odd. I've lost loads of really expensive gear there. Went online, oh yeah, it's a bug. Like half the time when you go into that mine, you get your gear back and then half the time you don't. That's a pretty major bug in what is the main DLC for a game. That was incredibly sloppy for it to have been released like that.
And of course, beyond even being sloppy as DLC, what about the DLC then that's already on a disc?
That you have to unlock,
Yeah.
So that's kind of bringing us into another discussion.
It is a bit, yeah.
You know, I'm a fan of Steam and that kind of online marketplace, if you will. But it does take away some of your rights. Because what you have is what's called point-of-sale contract. If you buy a physical game, you've bought it, it's yours to do with you what you want. You can play it yourself, you can give it to your dog to eat if you want.
Don't give her any ideas.
Well, not yet anyway.
Yeah.
You can then sell it on. It's yours to sell. Now, they don't do that with a digital copy. If you get something off Steam, you download it and install it yourself, you can no longer give that to someone else. And then you're coming into digital rights management. There's some that you can only install 5 times, and then you have to write to the developer and say, "Oh, I've actually installed this 5 times, but I really want to play it a 6th." But it's not your game. You're renting
it's
it.
just a license. That's all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
License. And I think the EU did bring out, or are bringing out, some form of a regulation that digital goods should be essentially returnable or resaleable. So if you buy, something off Steam or wherever online
it's
shop,
actually yours.
It's yours that you can remonetize your license by selling the license on.
Yeah,
You should be able to, because all that has changed from a digital copy or a physical copy to a digital copy is the medium. It's changed from being on a disc or a cartridge or a tape or whatever to being just pure bits and bytes that are downloaded and stored on a hard drive or a flash drive,
which somehow takes all of your rights away.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's obviously great, or the producers and publishers see it as great. But the more and more that you restrict what people can do, I think the greater the backlash you get in the end. A good example, I think, is the Nintendo policy on their eShops and whatnot. You end up buying the same game over and over. A good example recently was just before Christmas on the Wii U and the Nintendo 3DS eShop. They brought out Super Mario Bros. 3, the NES game on Virtual Console. Now, if it's available on both and it plays the same, it's the same game, and I own both devices, why should I pay for it twice? As it's digital. Shouldn't it be a case that I've essentially got the license for my Nintendo accounts and can play them, like Android or iTunes? You pay for the license for the app and you can transfer between your devices, which is that makes sense in a digital context.
It seems almost silly to sell it because it is such an old game and it's such a classic as well.
Yeah,
like it's something we've talked about before, where Sonic 1 was given away free with the Mega Drive. It made Mega Drive a fortune.
Yeah.
If they go into this Nintendo store and say, by the way, there's a free copy of Super Mario Brothers or whatever game you want to put in, free. Anyone joins this gets it free, play as much as you like. It's an old game, you're not going to make much money off it anyway.
You see, that's the thing, they see that they will make money because there's the ability to continually resell and monetize their product. Now,
but if you're going to give away something like that as a loss leader,
that's
to go for an old supermarket term, you're going to bring so much more people in.
Yeah, and Nintendo have done that. They've actually tried. I mean, most recently with I don't know how much you're aware, but they've tried to start to introduce more of a centralized account system called a Nintendo Network ID. And with that, you can have the same account on the 3DS and the Wii U. And if you registered your 3DS up to this Nintendo account, they give you a copy of Super Mario Brothers DX, the Game Boy Color port of Mario Brothers, for free, which I think was
that's quite good.
Yeah. I hooked mine up obviously because I wouldn't have bought the game, but I was glad to have it, and it actually made me think that the company actually valued me more as a customer too, and made me inclined to look through their eShop and look at their both their physical and digital offerings. Because you're saying, hey, look, these guys are, they want me to enjoy their products. They want to offer me good value for my money. Not just rip me off so I can buy the same game over and over, which they've done in the past.
Which is bringing us on to a topic we mentioned earlier of freemium games.
Yes, freemium.
Now, I played one that we're going to discuss, Plants vs. Zombies 2. You haven't played that, have you?
No.
I had a quick go of it, and it's adding in lots of different mechanics to the game, but they're mechanics you have to pay for, which changes it somewhat. For those of you, I think 2 people in the world who aren't familiar with the original Plants vs. Zombies, it's a lane-by-lane, essentially tower defense.
Tower defense, yeah. You play as the plants, you're versus the zombies.
Yeah, and they come along 5 different lanes. You put your plants down and they only attack that lane or possibly a lane beside them or whatever. Whereas I'm going through the levels and it re-establishes the basic Plants vs. Zombies, and then you have superpowers you can get. And one of your zombies can be powered up to fire, ice or lightning or whatever. And then there's another one where you just flick your finger across the screen and a zombie goes flying. Like, well, that's not really Plants vs. Zombies, that's I'm paying just to get rid of all these zombies. You don't even need the plants. You just need lots of money. So it's just you versus zombies.
So it's just buying your way through the game.
Yeah, which essentially just destroys the entire concept. It's no longer a tower defense game at that point. It's a pay to win. Now, a lot of kind of flash games or browser games would be pay to win, but you can kind of play to enjoy them. And I think Plants vs. Zombies 2 is probably a good mix of it, but the idea of changing the main mechanic is something I don't like.
It's this whole you can pay for a substantial advantage.
Yeah.
Not another similar model, because it's obviously a very popular model these days. Is a game that Sega put out on the iPhone and the Android. Sonic Rush. I think that's what it's called, or Dash actually. Sonic Dash. Sonic Rush is a DS game, and it's free to download. But there's a few ads in it, as you'd expect every so often. But you can also, I mean, the currency within the game is coins. Sorry, not coins, that's Mario. Rings. I was going to say stars, Jesus.
Have you played this?
Rings.
Rings.
The currency in the game is rings. I have played it. I've actually played a fair bit of it. And I enjoy it. It's a simple, it's like a temple run style game. But in the Sonic universe it makes sense because he runs.
Yeah.
Now, because you can unlock things and you can upgrade power-ups and whatnot using rings, it makes sense that, well, you collect them in the game, but you can also purchase rings. Now, all that does is cut down the amount of time you have to play to unlock the item. But you can unlock the item without paying.
Yeah.
So the actual pay process, it's completely optional.
Yeah. It's a convenience thing.
It's a convenience thing. If you like the game enough that you want to get these other items or these other characters, you can do that. You can pay for them. But if you just want to play the game enough to unlock them, you can do that too. So it's a much better balance, and it's the type of thing that I would download free on a phone and just twiddle about it every so often. And I don't mind the odd ad. But on the flip side, I would never have paid for the product outright if it was anything more than £2 or so. It's too insubstantial to pay for.
But then they probably didn't pay much to actually produce it.
Yeah, that's the whole point. The game was developed with the understanding that it's not going to be this 15-hour or 20-hour long epic gameplay with lots of production value. It's just a simple time killer, an enjoyable time killer. So it fits that model. It was designed for the model, and it fits it well. Yeah. So it's kind of some people say that oh no, they're kind of free to play, or all these in-app purchases and all that. They're completely wrong. I don't like that at all. I think it has its place, but it's all about how you use it.
Yeah, I think one of the best examples would be, say, Team Fortress 2. What you can actually buy.
Unlockable hats.
Unlockable hats, that's all you can buy. It doesn't... It comes down to your skill as a player, whether or not you win. It's not as if you've been playing for 10 years and then some newbie comes in, but he's bought all the best stuff and he kills you with one shot with a brand new powerful gun. It doesn't really happen.
The unlockable hat thing, I think, is actually quite funny.
I think it's fantastic.
Because, in the original, they designed the characters to have their own look.
Yeah.
I mean, that was part of having a person be paid to design a character. And then, apparently, that's not good enough for people. They want hats on them, which takes away, potentially, from the character design that was, set up.
But then it's coming across as a very silly thing anyway, They're all designed in kind of a slightly stereotypical silly way. You have the heavy, you have the spy, and you stick a silly hat on him.
Yeah. It's not like, say, I don't know, you're in Uncharted with Nathan Drake and you decide to put a fez on him or something. It's a different
Or if you're watching Doctor Who and he decides to put a fez on.
Doctor Who does?
Yeah.
I don't really watch Doctor Who.
There was a fez at one point.
Oh, he does? Alright, well, there we go. That's that reference. So, it's funny though. And part of what I was thinking about pricing is, and this is when people talking about the rise in retro game prices. And it's true. You can still get deals. And there's still plenty of enjoyment to be had with retro purchases, but they're not the kind of 50 cent, £1, £2 type of price that you used to get them for. And we'll say, for example, I recently bought a MacLeod game for something like £15, and you might say, oh god, £15 in a MacLeod, that's a lot for a MacLeod game. But when that came out, it was probably £60. So even though it has gone up in value recently, it is still well below its retail price. So it's actually still much less than you would have paid.
Although, what did you buy Streets of Rage 3 for?
Well, now that I paid about 45 for that, which, to be fair, when it came out in mid-90s, it probably would have cost that.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Because that's the funny thing is, the unit price per game is still pretty similar. I mean, we're talking about the £50 mark.
Yeah.
And that's what it used to be. I mean, you did get some examples where you had things like Street Fighter being £80 or Virtual Racing being a ridiculous price because it had the chip in it and those type of things. But on the whole...
Funny, I still remember buying Commodore 64 games for £5.
Yeah. Now, that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
And that's where we almost go full circle with the App Store.
Yeah.
I mean... The Commodore 64 and the ZX Spectrum and the home computing of the early 80s and mid 80s, they were put out in cassette. Cassettes were cheap. There was no middle people. It was often people just mailing from their bedrooms to it. It was one-man operations almost. Yeah. And they were selling these games for like $2.99 on budget labels. And it was actually at a stage where you nearly could buy a game every couple of weeks. Some people did.
Yeah. I think we did actually.
It was 99-cent games. And then, once the consoles took over, pricing went much more towards a 40, 50, 60 per game. And I can imagine, if you were used to buying Commodore games or whatever, that must have been quite the bloody shock. Yeah. Instead of getting a game per week, you get one game a year.
They always improved. We've always looked for improvements, console upon console or game upon game. We've always looked for a step up.
Better graphics, better sound.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Doesn't always necessarily mean better gameplay, but...
Well, that's it, but if it doesn't mean better gameplay, the company tend to suffer. I mean, some companies kind of get a reputation for making good games. It's the same with movies. If you think of Pixar make good movies. They just don't put out bad movies. They don't. And... that kind of a...
Yeah. So if you end up with a studio almost, things like retro studios, they're considered to put out solid titles and so on. I know what you mean.
Which brings us back to this. Seriously. Don't.
That was £7.
£7?
So, for the collector's edition type of thing, so that's why I picked it up. I wasn't going to pay any more than that. So, yeah. What you're doing is simply alienating your potential fan base. Yeah. You pull strokes like that. Capcom and their on-disc DLC and their, releasing of the same game with a new character over and over, Street Fighter approach. And, that sort of shit just annoys people. But then again, it still seems to be making the money, so...
True.
And this is where I guess the consumer comes into it. If as a consumer you keep buying... then you're just saying, it's okay. Yeah. If you really want a console, or if you really want a system, but it does something that annoys you, or you think is just wrong, then if you want that to have any impact, you just can't buy it. Yeah.
Which is why I absolutely refuse to buy an Xbox One.
Me too. I mean, I'm not exactly shy for buying systems.
No.
But I won't buy an Xbox One, ever. I don't like the
just
policy.
In case they keep making more and they'll think, oh, well, we'll kind of put it in more gradually than we tried to with the one.
Exactly.
The Xbox 2, we could have like a mostly on camera.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be as abrupt. Yeah. I mean, when they put forward the changes for the Xbox One, you're going always online, phoning home, no pre-owned, camera spying in you. That's a lot of shit they were throwing in your face. Yeah. And they had to roll back on pretty much everything. Because they realised consumers were pissed.
Yeah, and they were buying the consoles of their competition. Yeah. I mean...
The PlayStation 4 pre-ordered shot up.
Yeah.
When, as Microsoft... That's not what you want when you announce the details of your system. Yeah. People go and buy your competitor.
Yeah, I mean...
Poor Nintendo were still going, damn, they still didn't go buy a Wii U.
But PlayStation executives must have had a board meeting immediately after that and gone, wow, that was easy.
Yeah. I mean, their E3 conference turned out to be, we're not Xbox.
Yeah, and it was the most popular decision they ever made.
How to share pre-owned games. Here you go. Here's my games.
Fantastic. Oh, whoever came up with that ad, genius. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, when I heard all that and heard the always on camera, especially in the middle of the NSA revelations, you have to wonder. You know, all that and all the other crap that they came up with. My first thought was, go to hell, go directly to hell, do not pass go, do not collect my money.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's just, I think there's a lot of negativity in the industry at the moment. I think the companies are bringing it on themselves.
Yeah.
When you do stuff that pisses consumers off, restricts their rights, and you're not showing innovation, well, of course, then you're going to, end up in a reducing market. And when you can look to a site and say, well, I can get these games on Android or iOS or whatever, or Steam, or
pirate them.
Well, that's a different ballgame.
Yeah. But that's it. If it's easier for someone to pirate your game and they don't feel that they're being watched, I know not everyone is paranoid, but that always on camera thing, it would freak me out. That alone would stop me from buying something, and I would rather pirate it than actually have a console that stares at me all the time.
Yeah, no, I can understand what you're saying, but I was just taking it more towards, okay, you're purely willing to go down a legal road, but it's people end up looking for a more convenient option. Yeah. And I guess when you then start to take pricing into consideration, an important part goes, there's a substantial audience that don't want to spend 50 quid on a game. And you know what? I'm in that group. And I have hundreds of games. Yeah. But I don't want to spend that much. And the reason why is I just don't consider them worth it.
Okay. Yeah.
And as someone who clearly enjoys video games, to turn around and say, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Even for a good game.
Which is bringing us back to our old point of, DLC being sloppy. Games themselves being released before they're actually ready, they haven't been properly tested. It's like, if you're not putting the work in to make a game, for me, that's enjoyable and high quality, I'm not going to pay a high quality price. If you, something like Sonic Rush or Dash, which was...
Dash,
yeah. It's easy, it's cheap, not the best game ever, but I'm not paying the best game ever prices. Exactly. Totally fine. If you're expecting me to pay 60 quid, it had better be top notch.
Exactly. And not even only top notch. It's also just how much you get out of it. Now, I guess it's a bit different if you trade your games in, because then the price you're paying is lower because you get a lot of it back.
But they were trying to stop that as well.
Trying to stop that too, of course, yeah. It's just, as an example, a game I've been playing recently is Tomb Raider on the PlayStation 3, the reboot thing. I've been enjoying it now. It's a decent game. Far from perfect. Won't go into it because it's not the video for that, but I got it for a tenner on the GameStop sale. I was happy to pay a tenner, and I consider it completely an enjoyable experience for €10. But if I'd spent €50, to be honest, I just don't see the value in the product.
So then, when they do make another Tomb Raider game, I assume you're not going to buy that straight off the shelf.
God, no. But then again, I generally don't. Like some of the Wii U stuff I got, I got them for half price on sale. So we'll say they ended up being €25. I was happy about that price point, but any more... to be honest, no. Now, maybe that's a personal thing that over time, when I compare everything else that I have to pay for in life, I just don't see the value in £50, £60 games.
Yeah.
Even if they're good games. And partly that has led to retro content where, I would have got games for cheaper. Or with the modern stuff, just wait.
Yeah.
As much as I might think, it'd be nice to try it on PlayStation 4 or whatever. Okay, what am I going to play? Assassin's Creed 4, Battlefield, FIFA. What? They're on the PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
They might look a little prettier, but it's the same stuff. So I can wait.
But it's funny that, we would enjoy games in a different way. Like, every Christmas we have a tradition. We'll play, say, Golden Axe, Streets Rage 2, and International Superstar Soccer on, what, the...
98.
98, yeah.
On the N64.
Yeah, so I haven't played any of the last few FIFA games, but we continuously play
That's
ISS.
a lie. That's a lie. You did. You played FIFA 13 on PlayStation. Tom brought his.
Oh, of
Not
course, yes.
PlayStation, the Xbox. But I know what you're saying.
Yeah, that would have been the last FIFA I played.
Yeah. I played 14 because he got that for Christmas. Now, to me, I couldn't understand getting 13 and then 14. It's almost the same. I just didn't see the difference. Maybe you could say the same about, well, you got Mario, and then you got the next Mario. I was like, wow, he just runs and jumps on platforms. Come on, it's like the same game.
That's oversimplifying things, but yeah.
Yeah, but it depends on what you're into. Yeah. Well, I just see that they're talking about a shrinking market and people not being willing to pay the prices, partly brought on by, the App Store and the Android Store.
And the global recession.
And the global recession, of course. But it's also, I think, more and more people are just saying, no. To me, as much as I enjoy video games, they're not a £60 or whatever the price might be proposition.
Yeah.
Even a AAA game is just not that valuable.
Yeah.
And you can tell because, okay, I got Tomb Raider just after Christmas. It was only out a few months, I think, or maybe half a year, but it had depreciated so much in value.
Yeah.
If it was really that, it would hold its price point, and a few games do, especially Nintendo stuff. But yeah, it just people. You're never going to expand to everyone. You're never going to get everyone playing it at that price. I don't think, and that's why the casual players have moved away.
Yeah,
they're just like, I'm not paying that.
But that's why I think PC gaming is going to come into it a lot more in the coming years. Everyone's trying to have their own little marketplace, like the Nintendo marketplace and the Xbox marketplace and this. Whereas with a PC game, you get Steam, you get everything. You get everything. I mean, I have an Xbox controller that I just plug into my PC and I play anything on the Xbox on the PC. And that kind of competition, you haven't cornered the market on a PC level. Anything that you bring out, your competitor can compete with me, compete for my money.
Well, there's, I guess, another problem when you have digital shops. And the consoles, you have one digital shop.
Yeah.
You don't like the price? Tough.
You go down the high street. You pay it or you don't play.
Yeah. You go down the high street, you go into GameStop, you don't like the price, you go somewhere else. Now, that's getting less and less because more places are closing up, but
yeah, true.
You just don't have the competition, so.
But that's just it. You're kind of relying on games being exclusive to your console.
Yeah.
It's just like the next Grand Theft Auto game, if that only comes out on Xbox, then you kind of have to buy it off Xbox. But if that comes out on Xbox and, say, the PlayStation, if on a Steam sale the PlayStation cut their price to 15 quid and Xbox still at 40, I know which one I'm going to buy.
Absolutely, it does drive, yeah. It kind of can be annoying. Now, Steam is not necessarily my cup of tea, but I think that's another day's discussion.
Yeah.
But anyway,
how long has this been going by?
This is of course, with all those interruptions,
it's
going to have to edit like nuts. Oh, editing.
Edit like nuts.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. But I think she's looking for some more attention, so we should probably leave it there.
Yeah.
But anyway, what's your thoughts on video game pricing? Leave a comment below, or maybe do a response video or whatever. I say response video. You can't do response videos anymore. Well, no, they got rid of them. Because you wouldn't want video-based communication and community building on a video community website. Of course. But yeah, discuss pricing and your thoughts, and I guess this would be good.
Oh, actually, we did talk about one thing more. Going back to freemium games, Dungeon Keeper came out recently. I haven't played it myself, but I have been hearing quite a lot about it. You can set up your dungeon to kind of construct whatever, kind of build a corridor, build a room, whatever. And the freemium part of it is that you can pay to reduce your timer. It's like, this will take an hour to build, but if you pay, it's done in 2 minutes. That is interfering with a core mechanic, and I think that's why everyone's so annoyed. I have heard several people talk about it.
Well, that's a bit like the Plants vs. Zombies. If you're changing up the core mechanic to suit payment, it can,
And I would have been a real fan of Dungeon Keeper, the original. I thought it was done in a very intellectual way. It had good comedy. It was great. Good
hey, this isn't a review of Dungeon Keeper. Save that for another show.
Fine.
Show?
I'll make my own show.
Tony's Dungeon Keeper channel.
With blackjack and hookers.
Well, that's the end of that video.
That was a Futurama reference.
Ah, right. Until next time.